right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third STARS webinar. My name is Phil. I am one of the college advisors for the STARS College Advising Program, working with Washington University and the STARS College Network. And tonight we are talking about navigating financial aid. So, a little bit about that. As we've mentioned in prior webinars, we are part of the STARS network. It's a network of 32 colleges and universities that have partnered together to support small town and rural communities. We're partnering with 10 high schools in Missouri and Illinois, and we are proud to be working with those students from those high schools. If you have not scheduled a meeting with us yet, we would love to meet with you. Feel free to reach out to us by email or to schedule through our Slate portal. Tonight, we're talking about understanding financial aid. And as part of that, we're discussing a few different topics. We're talking about the different types of financial aid. We're talking about applying for financial aid. We're talking about how you become eligible for different types of financial aid. We're breaking down the cost of attendance at college. We'll talk about comparing different award letters from colleges you're admitted to. And we'll talk about some scholarship tips. As we go through, I'm here with my colleague Ellie Self, who's one of the other advisors with us. She is running the Q&A feature in the background. So we'll leave time at the end for some questions, but if you have any that come up in the meantime, please feel free to mouse over that Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window, type in your question, and Ellie will get you an answer. So to start out, the big question, what is financial aid? Financial aid is money that will help pay for college or trade school, whether that is a 2-year college, a 4-year college, a short trade school program. This is the funding that will help you pay the cost of those programs. And that aid can come from a lot of different places. It can come from the college or university itself. That's called institutional aid. They're paying you to entice you to come to that program. It can come from the state where you live. In Missouri, we have scholarships like the Access Missouri Scholarship or the A+ program that help to pay for the cost of certain programs. It can come from the federal government. The most famous form of this, of course, is the Pell Grant, which you get from the FAFSA. That is money that the government provides to help people who are U.S. citizens and permanent residents attend college. Or it can come from a nonprofit or private organization that's offering a scholarship. So a wide range of different sources of financial aid. The two big categories of financial aid are merit-based and need-based. The difference is merit-based aid is offered to students who demonstrate a high level of achievement in something. Sometimes that is having a really excellent GPA and ACT score. Sometimes that is testing high on an exam like the PSAT that can get you the National Merit Scholarship. You might receive an athletic scholarship to attend a university if they'd like to recruit you to their team. You might receive a scholarship for the arts, for dance, for music, for winning a painting competition. You might receive a scholarship for leadership or for service. But regardless, these are based on something that you have done, and your family's financial information is not considered. So regardless of how much income your family has, you are eligible for a merit-based scholarship. A need-based scholarship, on the other hand, is offered to students based on demonstrated financial need. And the way that that's determined is generally through the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, which we'll talk more about. But once it's been determined that the amount that your family can pay to help you go to college, then need-based scholarships, whether from the government or from your college, will step in to cover any gaps between what your family can pay and what the college or university costs to attend. So kind of helping to bridge those gaps if there's a financial need. In addition to the FAFSA, some colleges require what's called the CSS profile. We'll talk a little bit more about what that is and how to complete it a little bit later in the presentation. So if we're applying for merit-based aid, there are a few different questions that we need to answer. The first is this merit-based scholarship an automatic consideration or a separate application? Some scholarships at universities and colleges are automatic, meaning that when you apply to that college or university, you are automatically in the running for that scholarship. You do not have to fill out anything extra beyond the application to the college or university. Often these are based on GPA and ACT score or SAT score, so that if you have X GPA and Y ACT score, then you'll receive a certain amount of money to entice you to attend that college or university. Sometimes you're just automatically considered. It's not automatically awarded. At Washington University in St. Louis, every student who applies to one of our academic divisions is considered for a scholarship based on that division. So students applying to the business school are considered for the merit-based business scholarships. But these are not automatically awarded. It's only a small percentage of students who will actually receive that scholarship. Sometimes there's a whole separate application. This is typical for private scholarships. Generally, they want to see an application that might look kind of like a college application, usually briefer, to determine who they're going to award that scholarship to. They might get hundreds or even thousands of applications for that scholarship, and they'll go through and find the people they believe are most deserving of that merit-based aid. Sometimes this might be at a university. Washington University also offers 3 merit-based scholarships that are separate applications, what they call the Signature Scholars programs. And each of those requires an additional essay and an additional letter of recommendation. And then a separate scholarship committee reviews the applications for those. So the second question is whether these are private or institutional. If it's an institutional scholarship, that means it comes from the university. It's awarded by either the financial aid department or some kind of academic department at the university. Whereas private scholarships can come from a wide range of sources. That could be from churches, it could be from workplaces, it could be from charitable societies or service organizations. And they will generally have their own separate applications for those scholarships. Need-based aid, applying for that works a little bit differently. As I mentioned, the need-based application process that is required for all schools is based on the FAFSA. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And this is something that seniors complete for the year that they're going to go into college. It's now open, as it opens on or by October 1st. And then they will have to complete it again each year that they're in college to continue demonstrating your eligibility. So you'll file one this October if you are a senior. And then next year in October, you'll file the FAFSA again to get financial aid for your sophomore year. And then again the next year for your junior year and again for your senior year to continue maintaining that eligibility for the amount of aid that you're receiving. This also helps capture if there's been any change in your family's finances, so that what the award you receive one year might not be identical to the award you receive the next year. Some schools also require the CSS profile, and there are a few key differences when we're talking about the CSS profile. One of them that I'll mention up front is that it is a separate application. It's run by the College Board, and it requires not only the custodial parent's house in a separated family, but the non-custodial parent's house. So if your parents are divorced, you will need both the parent that you live with the majority of the time and the parent who you live with less often or not at all to fill out the 2 parts of the CSS profile. There are ways to appeal that and to work around that. You'll need to reach out to the financial aid office for help. So when we determine the amount of need-based aid that you are eligible for, the federal aid eligibility, the math goes like this. We take the total cost of attendance minus the student aid index minus other financial aid to equal your federal aid eligibility. But what do those terms mean? Let's take a few minutes to break them down together. Your cost of attendance is the full cost of attending a college or university. There are direct costs and there are indirect costs. What that means is there are costs you are directly billed by the program, and there are costs that you will have to pay but may not appear on your bill. So tuition and fees and housing and food are direct costs that you will be directly billed by the institution. They will show up on the bill that you receive. You'll have to pay them for the year so that you have your meal plan and your residence hall and you're paid for classes. But there are other costs associated with going to college as well. These are the indirect costs. You'll have to buy books for your classes. You will have to pay for supplies for your dorm room. You will have to travel to and from college, which might mean a drive in gas or it might mean a plane ticket. So both of these costs, direct and indirect, figure into your total cost of attendance. And that's what we want to kind of measure your eligibility and the amount of financial aid you need based on. Your student aid index is the number that is calculated by filling out the FAFSA. The idea is that this index determines your eligibility for federal financial aid. It does not determine how much a college or university will necessarily give you, though it certainly helps with those determinations. But it is designed to determine the amount, your eligibility for federal financial aid. That includes the Pell Grant, that includes federal work study, and that includes federal loans. We'll talk more about those in detail a little bit later. And the FAFSA determines your student aid index using a number of different metrics that we have to put into the FAFSA form. The big one is parent income and assets. Your parents' income and the assets that they own do a lot of the work in determining how much the government believes your parents can pay to help you attend college. And that means that determines a lot of how much they are willing to offer you to help you go. In general, if your parents' income and assets are lower, you will receive more federal aid. If you are a student who works and has income or assets and has filed taxes, then your income and assets will also be part of this calculation. Unless you are making a whole lot of money as a high school student, which is generally not the case, this will not be a very large part of that determination, but it is factored in. Your household size and your tax filing status of your parents or guardians will be a key part of this. One thing that is worth noting here is that students who are legally homeless or students who are in legal guardianships often have a different case for this. They may be classified as independent students, and they will not have to put in parent income and assets. If you're unsure whether or not you're an independent student, reach out to us, reach out to the counselor at your high school, and we're happy to help you figure that out. This is calculated per student per year. So if a family has multiple students in college, then the student aid index may vary per student, and it may change from year to year, depending on fluctuations in income and assets and the targets set by the federal government. So if we were to look at some examples of the need-based federal aid formula, we could take two different universities for the same family. There's a private university the student's been accepted to that costs $50,000 a year, and a public university that costs $30,000 a year. Either way, the student aid index calculated by the FAFSA is the same. It's $20,000 for this student. They're not receiving any other financial aid. So if they attend the private university, their federal financial aid eligibility is $30,000. And if they're attending the public, since the cost is lower and the student aid index is the same, their federal financial aid eligibility is only $10,000. Now, this does not mean that you will get $30,000 free from the government per year. That would be awfully nice, but that is not how it works. Instead, you can stack the benefits that the government offers up to that cap, depending on the maximum amounts allowed for the Pell Grant and loans and work study and any other forms of aid you may be receiving. So, what is the CSS profile? This is an online form that is used not by the federal government, but by nearly 400 colleges and scholarship programs to award institutional aid. And the STARS network wants to talk about this because many of our member universities are among the colleges that use the CSS profile. And the reason that we do that is the CSS profile goes in some ways in a little bit more depth than the FAFSA does. It captures some things that the FAFSA does not capture. For example, on the CSS profile, it takes into account whether you have multiple students in college at the same time, which can be a big burden for a family's finances. So we want to account for that. And the CSS profile gives us a better, more fully rounded idea of a family's ability to pay for a student's college and what kind of aid they may need from our institutions in order to be able to attend. This is used alongside the FAFSA, so both of these go into our financial aid office's calculations when we determine institutional aid. Your CSS profile comes up with a number that is called the expected family contribution, or EFC. And this is a very similar idea to the student aid index, or SAI. It's how the CSS profile determines eligibility for institutional financial aid. And it calculates need based on all the same things as the FAFSA, but also the number of students in college. If your parents or guardians are separated, it captures both the custodial and non-custodial household's income and assets, rather than just the custodial household. And it is better in some ways at capturing special circumstances. So it's easier for the university to adjust in the case of job loss or medical bills or other things that may be affecting your ability to pay for college that are not captured by your income or assets. So in that way, it can be very helpful. A quick breakdown of the differences here. With the CSS profile, as we mentioned, both the custodial and non-custodial household have to submit this, unless there's a very special circumstance to work with us on. Whereas the FAFSA is the custodial household, the household that provides more than half of a student's support if the parents are separated, that makes the account and submits the FAFSA. There is a cost with the CSS profile. The FAFSA is free. That first letter of FAFSA is F for free. There's no F in CSS profile, so we have to pay a cost. The cost is $25 for the first school and $16 for each additional school that you send it to. However, there are ways to get fee waivers and not have to pay for the CSS profile. If you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident with a green card and your family earns less than $100,000 a year, you will receive an automatic fee waiver. You will not have to pay for the profile. And that goes for both a custodial and non-custodial household. If you qualify for an SAT fee waiver, since this is through College Board that also does the SAT, then you qualify for a fee waiver here. You can qualify for an SAT fee waiver by qualifying for free or reduced lunch. So if you qualify for that, you can get a fee waiver. And if you are an orphan or ward of the court under the age of 24, you are an independent student for the FAFSA, and you will receive a fee waiver for the CSS profile. It's also worth noting that the CSS profile, unlike the FAFSA, can be applied to international students. The FAFSA can only be filled out by U.S. citizens or permanent residents, but international students can, and those considered international, can fill out the CSS profile. The CSS profile also takes a little bit longer because it is a little bit more in depth. The FAFSA has been going very quickly this year. It's been linking up very efficiently. It's been a very smooth year so far. The CSS profile will take a little bit longer. So if you spend about 30 minutes on the FAFSA, expect to spend longer than that on the CSS profile. The FAFSA you do need to submit annually to maintain your eligibility for federal aid. The CSS profile, it depends on the institution you're attending. Some colleges want to see it every year. Some colleges only require it your first year. So it's good to contact the financial aid office of the college you're applying to and double check on whether they have any a requirement to continue submitting it or whether you can just submit it the once. So determining your cost. Even before, if you are a junior or if you are just filling out the FAFSA and you've not gotten an award letter yet, you can determine roughly how much you're going to pay to attend a specific college. There are a couple of outside resources to help you do this. College Board has a tool called Big Future that is a very effective cost calculator to help you estimate college costs. And there's also collegecosts.ed.gov. This is a site that's created by the Department of Education with the same goal, help you figure out how much you're likely to pay at a particular school. It is also federal law that every college and university in the United States have a net price calculator. And there are a number of different ways that they do this. Some colleges build their own, some use My Intuition, but every college has to have one of these. And if you go to their website or Google the name of the college and net price calculator, then you will find a form that you can put your information into and your parents' information into, and it will give you a very accurate estimate of how much you will pay to attend that college based on the amount of aid you are likely to receive. It will not account for merit-based aid that you may receive or outside scholarships, but it will tell you with good accuracy how much need-based aid you are likely to receive if you attend that college, both federally and institutionally. If you are considering applying early decision to a college, you need to fill one of these out before you do that, because you do not want to put yourself in a situation where you have committed to a college exclusively. An early decision is a binding exclusive commitment that your family is not able to pay for. So look through these as you're thinking about whether you're going to apply early and considering what colleges may cost and what scholarships you may need to look for and pursue outside of that institution. When you are admitted to a college and they've gotten your FAFSA and CSS profile if they require it, they will each send you a financial aid award letter. This is something that typically happens in the spring. It is a very exciting part of the spring because at that time you're getting award letters from each of the different colleges and you can compare kind of how much each of them is willing to offer you. And this can be something that is very helpful when you are considering which college to attend, because there may be significant differences in the amount of aid and the cost that you're seeing at different colleges you've been admitted to. In an award letter, there are three major parts that you need to look through. There are scholarships and grants, there is federal work study, and there are student loans of various types. And each of these works a little bit differently. So we'll go through each of them in turn here. Scholarships and grants are money that you don't have to pay back, free money. You will not be offered free money very many times in your life, so please take them and take advantage of them when you can get them. This includes both need and merit-based scholarships, any federal or state grants, any outside scholarships you receive, any of these things that you are getting that you do not have to pay back. It is just aid that other people are paying for you to go to college, in effect. So these are the best type of financial aid that you can receive. On the other end are student loans, which is money you do have to pay back, money that you've borrowed. The two main types of student loans that students take are the federal loans that you can receive from the FAFSA. And you can take out in a given year, if you are a dependent student, up to $5,500 in federal loans. If you have financial need, you may be eligible for subsidized loans. The benefit of subsidized loans is that while you are in college and taking classes as a full-time student, they do not accrue interest. Whereas most loans are unsubsidized. That means that as soon as you take them out, they are accruing interest. They are getting larger. So if you have to take out loans, subsidized are best. Take out as much subsidized as you are eligible for first before moving down to unsubsidized. There are loans available that are other types as well. We'll talk briefly about them in a minute here. But first, I'd like to talk about federal work study. There is a question on the FAFSA that asks if you would like to be considered for federal work study. My strong recommendation is that you answer yes to this question, no matter what, because being offered federal work study does not mean that you have to take it, but it is an offer that you will only receive if you indicate that you are open to it. Federal work study is money that you earn. If you take a work study position at your college or university, you receive a part-time job that is primarily on campus. And there are a number of benefits to working a work study job over working other jobs in the community after hours. One of them is flexible hours. If you walk into a typical job that is a part-time job and say, I can't come in to work this week because I have finals, they will likely tell you that they can't make that work. You have scheduled shifts. You can't just back out of them. But a work-study job is designed specifically for students at your college or university. So they're not going to ask you to work finals week. They are not going to ask you to work during times that you have class. They're going to be flexible with you in finding a position that works with the schedule that you have as a student. So there's a great benefit in that. It's also a great opportunity to get to know your campus and to build your resume while you are still in college in a way that will not be as overwhelming as working outside of college might be. Employers will set your hourly pay rate. You might be working for a lab, you might be working for a residence hall. A wide range of different on-campus work-study positions exist, from locking up classrooms after hours to working a reception desk to cleaning or being a research assistant. And you'll be paid for that on a biweekly paycheck schedule. So every 2 weeks you get that money. It does not go directly to the college. You can use it to help pay for room and board or for your tuition, but it does not go directly to the college. It goes to you with that biweekly paycheck. So if you need it to buy books, or if you need it to buy dorm supplies, or any other things that you may need for school, you have that option. You will receive a federal W-2 for this position because it is unfortunately taxable income. So it's like working a regular job in that way. There is a cap on the maximum amount that you can earn in a year from federal work study, and that cap is $5,000. That does not necessarily mean that you will be offered that much. Your work study award, depending on your demonstrated financial need, may be lower than that for a year, but that is the maximum cap for federal work study. There are a number of other ways that families pay for college. 529 college saving plans are plans that parents can start with their banks to save for college. They are tax exempt in that way to help save up when children are younger, and then that you can pull that money out for qualified educational expenses, including tuition, including room and board, including books, including a wide range of things that you may need to pay for in order to send your student to college. There are prepaid and monthly payment plans for tuition at most colleges and universities. So if you are not able to pay for a semester up front out of pocket, then financial aid offices will work with you to make sure that you have an ability to pay in another way or pay month to month rather than a big chunk all at once, if that is easier for you and your family. There are also other types of loans that you can take out. One that is commonly assigned by certain colleges is federal Parent Plus loans. And these are a little different because most student loans are in the student's name. If I attend college, then the loans are mine if I take out federal loans. But plus loans are in the parent's name instead of the student's name. And parents do have to pass a credit check to be able to access these loans. So they work a little bit differently. And only certain colleges will package them as part of an aid package. Um, there are also a number of different private or alternative loans that you can take out. The benefit of taking federal loans over private loans is that typically federal loans have lower interest rates. The federal subsidized and unsubsidized loans have just about the lowest interest rates that you will find on student loans. So if you have to take out loans, it is best to take out those loans first in their full amount before taking out loans from private lenders that likely have higher interest rates and possibly things like origination fees. So something to consider if you have a gap in cost. Now, there are lots and lots of outside scholarships. We mentioned before that merit-based aid doesn't always come from the institution that you're applying to. It may also come from other organizations in your community. So let's talk a little bit about applying for that kind of scholarship. It is a good idea as a student to check with your teacher and school counselor, your root ed advisor if you have one, because these are the people who know about the local scholarships. There are scholarships in your community. There are scholarships put on by all sorts of different groups in your community. Community foundations, Elks or Rotary clubs, different businesses, places you or a parent have worked. McDonald's does scholarships. Utility companies do scholarships. Your parents' employers may do scholarships. Local religious organizations may offer them. And many of these scholarships every single year go unclaimed because no one applies. So the best first advice that I can give is find out what the scholarships in your local community are, find out what their requirements are and when they are due. Some of them may already be open, some of them may already be close to closing. Some are offered in the fall. Smaller scholarships and local scholarships are great to focus on because there are fewer applicants for those scholarships. If you apply for a scholarship that only students from Troy, Missouri are eligible for, you have a much better chance of getting that than a scholarship that this entire state of Missouri is eligible for, and a much better chance than a scholarship that is available nationwide. There will be thousands of applicants for those scholarships. That doesn't mean you shouldn't apply for them. I've worked with students who have received nationwide scholarships. Every year we see Coca-Cola scholars. Every year we see Horatio Alger scholars that are major state and nationwide scholarships. But if you want your best chance to receive a scholarship for the amount of work that you put in, start with local ones because those are your best opportunity to receive financial aid. It is also worth noting that if you want to look for scholarships beyond your community, there are a lot of great online resources to help you do that. In the state of Missouri, My Scholarship Central is a great way to find Missouri-specific scholarships as well as wider scholarships that apply to Missouri students. But there are also a wide range of other sites. There's fastweb.com is a famous one, scholarships.com, a large number of different places to look. There are a few things to note about scholarship websites. Be very careful to make sure that the one that you are looking at is a reputable site. There are sites that purport to be scholarship lists, but are there to either steal your information or to get money out of you. If a scholarship asks you to pay to apply for the scholarship, do not do that. You are there to get money, not to pay money. And if you are paying money, it is likely a scam. It is certainly a scam. So be very careful with that. And if you have any doubt, talk to your counselor or talk to your STARS advisor, and we'll be happy to help you find scholarships and rule out scholarships that may not be legitimate. It's also worth noting that outside scholarships, unlike institutional scholarships, are often paid directly to you in the form of a check instead of directly to your college. This is not true for all scholarships. Some do go directly to the college. But if you receive an outside scholarship, then it is likely you'll receive that as a check, and you do not have to put that directly toward tuition. What that means is you can buy a laptop with that scholarship money if you need one for college. You can buy books. You can pay for transportation to college. So even if you are lucky enough to receive a full ride to your college of choice, tuition and fees and room and board are all paid, it may still be worth it for you to apply to some outside scholarships because if you do, you can spend that on things that may not be covered by the direct costs of the university. And instead, buy a nice laptop to do your classwork on. I want to close by talking about three C's of financial aid. This is one of the things that can be most challenging in navigating the college selection and application process because college is often expensive. And we are looking for ways to ameliorate that as much as we can, to lower the costs as much as we can. And we ideally want to do that as much as we can with grants and scholarships rather than with loans. But it may come to the point where your dream college is not the one that will be free to you and others are. And you're really going to have to do some reflecting and thinking about value and fit. If a college that you really want to go to is going to cost you out of pocket or require loans and another will not, you are going to have to decide for yourself if it is worth taking on that financial burden. Have that conversation with parents and guardians and really think through, will this be the return on investment that I want? Will it get me the experience that will be worth it? The general rule of thumb for taking out loans is never take out for all 4 years of college more in loans than you'll receive as salary in your first year out of college in that job. So if you are going into a role that is going to earn $60,000 a year, do not take out more than $60,000 in federal student loans or in student loans in general, or you will have a challenge paying them back. So consider that value and fit. Think about loans. Think about how much you may need and what that is worth to you. These last two kind of go together. Communicate your story and connect with the financial aid office. If you are concerned about paying for college and you have a dream school you're worried you cannot afford, reach out to their financial aid office. It does not matter if you haven't applied there yet. It does not matter if you're not even a senior student yet. If you reach out to them, they will talk with you. That is what they are there to do. Many of them have open office hours. They have emails publicly listed, they have phone numbers, and if you reach out to them and explain your situation or your anxieties or your questions, they are experts who are there to help you. You can appeal your financial aid and say, due to this circumstance that my family is dealing with, whether it's loss of a job or medical bills or relocation, then they may be able to find ways to help you and to help boost your financial aid package. Because if you've been accepted, we want you to come to our college and we want to find ways to make that possible for you. So reach out to the financial aid office and share your story, and that will be something that will be very helpful to you.